eventually your eardrums burst and you're like somewhat relieved because now you don't hear this loud noise. But then you start to feel the sound causing reverberations in your body.
No.
And it loosens your soft tissue and your organs.
Stop it.
You just perish because all your innards turn to mush.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Monsters Lounge. I'm Jeni.
Hello, I am Tressa.
Oh, I like the way you said that.
Thank you.
I don't think there's ever going to be a beginning to the show where I'm not giggling incessantly.
Listen, it's a new StreamYard thing. We'll just deal with it.
I know.
And you people at home can deal with it too. We love you.
Mm-hmm. And you get to listen to me laugh right away.
I love it.
Immediate laughter.
It warms my heart.
Oh, thank you. You warm my heart.
Oh, stop.
Listen, we have fun stuff coming up, including tonight's guest. And do you want to tell them what we're doing this weekend?
We are going to go to the seance where Renee is going to lead the seance, and it's going to be crazy, and it's all being filmed for a documentary that Larry Eisler, our guest from last week,
A
couple weeks, I am lost right now, is shooting and putting together, and you'll probably see our stupid faces on it.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. If we manage to not look at the camera.
I'll make sure.
Well, we'll figure that out. I'm not really good under pressure. I don't know. Anyway, Listen to my story. It's a good story. So we were in Madison for a paranormal conference. And
you and me?
You and me.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I went to the Madison farmers market that happens on Saturday morning.
All
and
right.
Here I am just walking around. I'm looking at cool stuff. And there's a
You
whole
know who else was there?
Who?
Not at the farmers market, but at the para thing was Larry Eisler, who will be shooting the documentary at the seance this weekend that everyone should go to.
And Neil, who is actually orchestrating the whole thing.
Oh, that's right. He was. And Diet. They were all there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Anywho, so I'm walking along and I'm seeing some art stuff, which always draws me in because I love arts and crafts. And here there is this booth with all of these cryptids and folklore prints and t-shirts.
That's like your favorite stuff.
I know. My house is covered in prints. I have way too much art on my walls, and I have way too many t-shirts. So I was immediately drawn in. Turns out this guy, really cool dude, and he wrote a book. And I was like, come on our podcast. And a few months later, he was like, I guess I could.
Fine.
So I'm really excited. We have Mike Bass on the show today, and he wrote a book called Frightful Folklore of North America, and I have my copy, and it's really, really good because it covers a lot of really interesting and unusual things, at least, things that I don't read a lot about. And it's got a bunch of his art in it too. So Mike grew up in a house with spirits, and he's always been fascinated by myths, folklore, and the supernatural. Because it's great. He's a printmaker, folklorist, and storyteller who loves hearing a good tale as much as telling one. In his art, he combines ink and pencil drawings with printed textures to create minimally layered illustrations with rough lines and simple and opaque palettes that work well with his folkloric subjects. He owns the Zip Dang Shop, which is a cool name, by the way, in Madison. So please help me welcome Mike.
Hello.
Hello,
sir.
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
Now, you were coming to us from Zip Dang. Are you not?
Yes, I am at the shop.
Fantastic.
Ooh.
So lots and lots of stuff. We're all ready for Halloween here in Madison, Wisconsin.
Nice.
Frightful products on the shelves, including my book. So
yes.
that's good.
And you have oracle cards too, illustrated oracle cards.
Yep, I did an oracle deck last year, so it came out about the same time, but in 2023, and it's all folklore based as well. So that particular project was a lot of fun because it was basically it started out as just like, hey, can you do something that's, UK and North America based? And as I did the research, I realized that so much of folklore relates not just in that small loop, but all the way back into time, all the way around the world. What people think of foxes are similar from the Scythians to the Babylonians to the Greeks to the Romans to everybody, all the way up through time, as well as trees. So yeah, there's animals, trees, and other things, cryptids, and different deities in that deck.
I was really excited to see that oracle deck because, as some may know, I prefer oracle decks over tarot. They're just more fun for me. Not that I think tarot's bad in any way, just I relate more to the oracle cards. Do you read oracle cards at all, or are you just like, this is going to be a fun project?
I do now. I mean, I was aware of them, and I had readings done where the person mixed tarot and oracle. You get multiple cards in there to just kind of get a different feel from different decks as to what's going on in your life. I like those kind of readings.
Yeah.
But I hadn't read them myself. I use the ones that I have, and then the one I just created more as like a daily pull. So it's kind of like I'll pull a card, I'll take a gander at it, take a look at it, try to figure out what it means on its own. I know obviously what mine mean because I made it. But if I'm using someone else's deck, I try to get a feel of the card, and then I read about it and I see what it should kind of mean for me to think about that day or that week. I don't do it every day. It's not a ritual, but yeah.
I mean, you don't need to. But also, I feel like that's why I like the oracle cards, because like, just how does it feel to you? It doesn't matter what it means. Just how does it feel to you? It's fine.
Yeah. The few times that you've done it for me, it's like, how does this make you feel, Jeni?
But also, I was like, I don't want to do this right now. Can you just figure it out on your own?
And it's weird because every card is just like jerk written on it, and
oh, that's the one I made. Yeah,
that's your jerk, and then shut up is just intermingled. Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Bad stuff coming. Bad stuff coming. More bad stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And down with capitalism is in there too. So.
Yes.
A few times, yeah.
Yeah. Every so often there's a picture of a shark just to keep me interested. Reel me back in.
I'm surprised you could tell that was a shark. It's more of like a bubble with fins, but thank you.
I like to think it's a shark. I don't know. Whatever it is, it draws me back in, and then I get a shut up card and I got to start all over again. But anyway, no,
readers talking.
Yeah. Myth and folklore is so amazing for those reasons because it goes back so far and there's such commonalities there.
Yeah.
Right? Like you see the similarities and some of them have different names and different details, but the main features, I guess, would be present.
Well, yeah, so much of it is based in just general human emotions, so fears, hopes, that kind of stuff. So a lot of the same fears generate a lot of the same stories, or a lot of the same hopes generate a lot of the same stories. So you do see a lot of just the human spirit through folklore in general. Kind of nice.
So we are going to get into some stories because some of these are fascinating, and we are in sort of that spooky season where the rest of the world joins us in thinking about these things, which is always great. Yeah. I like it when everybody else is into it at the same time that I am for that month.
Yes. Well, and it's been starting sooner and lasting longer, which I very thoroughly enjoy.
Like Christmas.
Yes.
Tell me about the Isle of Demons.
So the Isle of Demons, that's a fascinating kind of story. So folks started to kind of find North America from Europe. Obviously, there were folks that were here, the indigenous people of North America, but the Europeans started to sort of find North America with the Vikings, sort of 900 CE. And there was this island off of the shore of Newfoundland that the Vikings had on some of their early depictions of the region. And then even as the French started coming here, they also had this island that was on their maps. And as the story goes, as it was always sort of shrouded in a mist, like a thick mist. And as boats would pass by, the birds wouldn't even fly over the island. And they could sort of hear screams and cackles and sounds coming from this island off in the distance, shrouded in the mist. And even folks who would land on the island, if they were brave enough to do it, they would never be seen again, according to legend. And so this island was avoided. And even when ships were going by, they just sort of like, don't even look at it. It goes on the maps, it's on these maps, starting with the Vikings, and then the Norse, and then even as the French into the 1500s, through like the late 1500s, this island was on the map, and it was even labeled Isle of Demons, or in French, whatever that kind of comes out of it. And they had like little drawings of these demons flying around it, and warnings not to go there. But then it just sort of disappeared. It was no longer on a bunch of maps, and it was as if the entire island had just sort of vanished.
So it's not actually even there right now?
No. It's on these maps from like the 900s up through like the late 1500s, and then it's just gone. It's
wild.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? And so the stories go that, as even to this day, though, if the wind is blowing right off of the Labrador Seas, and it's a wicked enough storm, you can still hear the voices of the island coming in off of the water.
What? Maybe it's like an ancient form of Trash Island that's been.
It's possibly, yeah. It just disappeared. There is one theory, though, that is kind of odd one. I can't remember. I have her name written down here somewhere. There was a woman who I can't remember. She was a noblewoman who was on a ship to the New World, or to Newfoundland, and she had a little bit of an affair on the boat with a younger gentleman on the boat. And so when it was all found out, they're like, well, this is not good. You've broken some taboos, so we're going to just drop you on Demon Island.
The woman
did, all by herself, with her young fella that she was having the affair with on the ship, on the trip over.
I mean, at least he got booted too. I feel like
right.
They just left them on the island. This is also coincidentally the same time that the island started to disappear from maps.
Hello.
Oh.
So maybe the deed was so terrible that she took the island, the demons, the devils, and all of their screaming down to hell with her.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something filthy. That's good too, though.
Yeah, I don't know how filthy I could get.
No, I just none. So I don't know why we're even bringing it up.
Right, I just won't.
Because it's
God that the island just disappeared. It's vanished into the mists of the Labrador Sea of Labrador.
Love it. Yeah. More.
Okay. Now I did go through a lot of these stories, and I really, because it's very all encompassing. I mean, there's so many, and you really do cover all of North America. So I kind of tried to grab some ones that just seemed very, I'd like to say just, a broad sampling of the book, but really it was just stuff that I wanted to hear about. So,
and I did try to like be all inclusive, because I mean, you don't want to be, have that one person come up and be like, well, what about the Midwest? It's like, well, it's in there.
Yeah, you did.
Everybody. Yeah.
You did. I get so disappointed by some of the Midwest like cryptids and things though. Listen, we got a giant bird. I guess that's cool and everything, but still.
It's very cool.
All right, it's very cool, but it's not like
Underwater panthers. Come on.
Ooh, that's true.
Yeah. The Wendigo.
Not in Illinois.
Oh, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean,
You
you
said
guys
Midwest.
get into the northern states. I'm speaking specifically about Illinois, okay?
But you said Midwest.
Good hauntings.
so-
I got
What?
Resurrection
Yeah.
Mary in the book.
I know. Yeah, I get bored with that one.
Yeah.
I just
That
hear about it
lady.
too much. It's like,
Yeah,
all right,
because you
calm
live down
down.
the street.
All right.
Calm down.
20s
What's your
lady
address
dancing.
again?
Here, let me point out on a map. Tressa, I believe I highlighted and circled the map. Feel free to come on by. The Lackwood Screecher. I like the story of this one.
Yes, this one is so just crazy. So this is Lockwood, and is a lake, obviously Lockwood, but there's also a lot of woods that are around it, and it's sort of northwest of Montreal, sort of west of Quebec, and so this creature is so reclusive that no one has ever seen it. No one knows what this thing looks like. No one has witnessed anything about it. What they have found, and this is would be a great misfortune if you were to find it, were clumps of its hair. So as the story goes, and again, folklore, what folklore does best is it's sort of there are a lot of cautionary tales. So this one is the cautionary tale about this one is to stay on the path, stay on if you're in the woods, stay on the trail. Don't explore places you shouldn't go, because once you're off the trail, what typically happens is you will find these sort of clumps of hair, and it's coarse hair and it's dark. And when you find them, you shouldn't touch them at all, because it's very caustic. It will actually start to give you, at first, when it touches bare skin, it gives you a little bit of an itch. And think of like wild parsnip, basically, right? So it gets on your skin. There's a little bit of an itch. It might feel a little warm. So you scratch it and it starts to spread. It starts to spread all over your body until eventually it's a rash, and then it's boils, and then it's sores that are open, and they're, the itchy stuff that caused it in the first place is getting in there, and it starts to get infected and just cause more and more irritation. But that's not even the worst part of it. So while this is happening, you start to hear these screeches off in the distance. And at first they're just sort of like these metallic sounding, sort of unusual screeches that are high pitched and really annoying, hurt your ears, kind of stop you in your tracks, and sort of make you wonder what the heck's going on in the woods. Yeah. Until they start getting quite a bit louder. And as they get louder, they really start to stop you in your tracks. And in fact, in some cases, the fear is paralyzing. So you just stop moving at all. And the assumption here is that these first cries and screams and screeches are sort of like probing techniques to kind of see, like, can I actually take you over? Can I, what's your response to my sounds? How are you going to react to my noises? They're almost like softening the enemy, basically, right? Oh. Until in an instant, it basically becomes unending. It's like nonstop screech in your ears, and it keeps getting louder and louder and louder. And as the story goes, eventually your eardrums burst, and you're like, somewhat relieved, because now you don't hear this loud noise, but then you start to feel the sound causing reverberations in your body.
No.
And it loosens basically your soft tissue and your organs in your body.
Stop it.
And
what?
You just perish because all your innards turn to mush. And so
this is the most horrific thing I've ever heard in my life, and this is a folktale.
This is terrifying. But like all of the folklore, like it has like a tiny little like basis in some things that we look at, right? Like we're essentially talking about like a really weaponized, focused form of like infrasound.
Yes. an audible attack, right? Oral attack. But there's one story where they claim to have found this lumber person who had been attacked and killed, and he had bite marks all over him, and he was half gnawed, but his brain was completely liquefied.
Oh.
So apparently the creature eats humans, but it also turns you to liquid in your internals into liquid first.
Well, maybe
like a spider. You're welcome.
Yes, there it is. Yes, big straw, just.
Maybe the creature didn't chew him up. Maybe it was somebody else, and the creature just can only consume soft food, so it needs liquids.
Right, or it could have been, a scavenger, an opportunistic.
They just cracked
this
open
creature just
coconut.
got the joy out of liquefying the person internally, and then something else consumed them. Yeah, it's possible.
Wild story.
Very possible. Yeah.
It's such a wild story.
I'm never going to think about it again. That's fine.
Yeah. Here's another thing too. So if you do somehow escape, right? So if you're somehow able to flee with the first noises, apparently the thing has caught your scent, and you can never return to those woods because it will recognize that you are there and that you are someone who has escaped.
Hey, Jeni.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes.
Don't ever ask me to go camping ever again. I mean, you know that already, but
I know. There were a lot of thoughts I had during the research of this and the reading of the book, and it was like, do I tell Tressa this? Because she might not ever go with me ever again.
No, I'm
not northeast of Montreal.
See, and it gets cold there at night anyway, so no chance I'm going up there.
Even in the summer?
Okay, maybe in the summer. No chance I'm trying to get you up there. It's fine.
We'll see. Hey, what other stories you have where people might be camping at some point?
Yes, tons of them. There's lots of them.
I'm sure Jeni has specific ones she wants to hear, but
I do.
I just had to make a point. They're all going to be in places people go camping at all the time, Jeni. I'm never going camping again.
You're going camping again.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But we should hear some more of those stories very soon. But after this commercial break.
I wasn't paying attention.
I know.
We did go along. You're 4 minutes.
You know what? We should go and hear more of those stories right after this break.
Hey, boys and ghouls. Neil here from Graveside Paranormal Ghost Tours. Join us on October 26th in Watseka, Illinois for the Seance at the Roth House, known for the story The Watseka Wonder, the first documented possession in America, or was it a spiritual miracle? In the end, you decide. We're going to be having ghost tours throughout the house every hour on the hour, from 1 p.m. to about 2 o'clock in the morning. We are going to have vendors. We're going to have speakers. Miss Diet Renee will also be out there doing the seance at 7:30 at night. And guess what, girls and boys? We are also going to be filming a documentary. So each and every one of you can be part of this unique experience. So go to gravesideparanormal.com to further details about our event, or on Facebook, and go to Eventbrite at The Seance at the Roth House. So grab your holy water, call your mama, and boo.
You know what, Tressa? You know what I like a lot?
What's that?
I like hats. I like hats a great deal. I like wearing hats. I like looking at hats. About you. I own a lot of hats.
And yet I've never seen you wear one.
I know, which is really weird. I have them. Sometimes I parade around my house in them. But you know what kind of hat I do not have?
What's that?
It's a high hat. I do not have a high hat.
No stovepipe hats?
I do hear stories about a high hat.
There is a high hat. There's a fella out there that prefers his Abraham Lincoln looking stovepipe hat, and he is in Western New York. So right about Western New York, you have about 100-foot drop from Lake Erie to Lake Ontario. And so that part of Western New York is called the Western Door because before they had canals and before they figured out how to get around the Niagara Falls, people would portage and use that area as a door to the west. And so it's like really super marshy territory. There's a lot of escarpments that kind of band towards the lakes. So it's not really very habitable, or I guess people can't live there very easily. But this guy can. And his name is High Hat. The theory is, or the story goes, that it's possible he is a shaman who has practiced dark medicine or dark magic to the point where he has been able to extend his life through the decades and hundreds of years. And he does. He wears a large, tall, sort of stovepipe hat. Wears a lot of all black clothes. They say like almost like a black jacket. And his skin is kind of desiccated. It's very tight. And it's like he's his lips are kind of stretched over these very almost like sharp razor teeth. And his thing is he just kind of is in search of people who get lost out there.
Oh, it's going to help them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. He's going to give him a hat and lead him out.
Yeah. Yep. Give him a coat. Give him a blanket.
Well, that's a great story.
Yeah.
What's the next one?
But no, he tends to enjoy eating people.
Oh,
So
okay.
He's a long, lean, tall cannibal with a tall hat. And not only that, but he enjoys sort of the soft flesh of children most of all.
Who doesn't?
So, there's the stories of him sort of frequently hanging out where roads that runaways take. So he kind of has a keen eye for the folks who are trying to get through the Western Door and onto new lands further west.
So there's a runaway highway over that way. So,
Well, I think that this must have been 1800s, late 1700s, when there were more people that needed to run away from bad situations.
So we're not talking about children who didn't want to go to bed. We're talking about people who maybe did some crimes and need to get out of town.
Maybe, or maybe they just were like, this 20 kids in the house blows. I'm gonna
Oh, right, those
making
guys.
my way west.
I forgot how inherently evil people are.
Yes.
All right, apologies.
Yeah.
But
But it's interesting because he's been seen since that era, right? It's this late 1700s, early 1800s. But there was like in the 1960s, mid 60s, they built a reservoir out there. There was a massive reservoir built to sort of supply water to the bigger cities, Buffalo, and some of the other towns that are out there.
New York.
But anyway, the construction guys that were working on this reservoir sort of had this thing at the end of the day about who saw the Abraham Lincoln looking guy out in the woods, out along the tree line. And so it was kind of this conversation that they would have regularly, like, hey, did you see the Abraham Lincoln guy at the tree line? And it was a commonly known sight and thing that people saw even in the 60s.
Even in the 60s.
Yes.
Oh, I like that part of it.
Yeah. And of course, too, that part of the state is, like I said, it's remote. It's, it's the boondocks, and people do disappear out there on a regular basis. Spooky.
Mm-hmm. They disappear with a man in a giant hat.
Abe Lincoln.
Uh-huh.
Who knew he was capable of such things?
Yes.
Yeah. And one of the things that is so very cool about this book is that, we hear a lot of stories and you hear a lot of lore, and a lot of cryptids are based around, these sort of shaman, medicine men, witches who have sort of turned over into dark magic in some way, and have just become horrible, evil creatures or things. And they all sort of, if you boil it down, resemble each other in a lot of ways. And they're just universal, right? You have Certainly you have them across Europe and across all of Americas, these sort of spirits that go rogue.
Yeah, and I think there's sort of there's two prongs to that story, or two, I guess, lessons to be learned. One is, hey, if you keep doing bad things and you keep sort of being dark, evil, and mean,
You get to live forever.
you get to live forever, but you got to
And
keep
get a
doing
cool
it.
hat.
You can't pull out of that rut. You're gonna basically be that person for existence.
I
And
mean,
then the other one is, hey, don't run away, and if you do, don't run away through the western door, or don't,
I think maybe that's the one that most people grab onto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe, but also doesn't seem to be going too badly for the evil people. Like, listen, they're doing their thing. They're fine with it.
They're out there. Yeah. I mean, I guess there's,
Mhm.
They survive. He eats another person, and then he gets another,
Yeah.
decade maybe.
He's thriving. He's living his best life.
Oof.
Going through so many hats. My goodness.
Yes.
Sounded like one, but okay.
A lot of them, and especially the ones that are like the witches that sort of go bad and practice the more evil magic. It's always there's like a turning point, right? There's always something where you have to commit some truly heinous act, and usually against your fellow human or your family or your tribe or what have you. And then you sort of get into some of these things that are just creatures in the woods, right? The snarly yow, which is one of the coolest names ever. And that's from an area that is crazy steeped in folklore. And I mean, it's the oldest place in the US,
Yep. Yeah, it's the oldest sort of rock mass. That
I think it's
that
like
exists.
fourth or fifth in the world too.
Yep. So right off the bat, when you're talking about Appalachia, it's steeped. It's soaked in a lot of different sort of spirits, energy, anything, it's all in that rock, right? So Snarly Yow is a black dog, paranormal black dog story. And I'm a sucker for a big black dog. So this one had to be in the book, right? And a lot of stories you hear about them, their dog whose master has died and they sat by the grave and eventually they became a spirit too. Or something they were mistreated in some way. And so they've come back and they're wary of humans, or they are mistreat humans. But there's just so many different sort of aspects to the black dog story. This one, the Snarly Yow, is curious because he doesn't really cause any harm. He just sort of exists as a warning or a sign that something bad could happen, or that maybe you should be on your best behavior, or you should you should acknowledge that you need to pay attention when you're traveling through the dark of night in the woods. But he's basically just a massive dog. Sometimes he'll come out of the woods normal. Other times he sort of just rises out of the shadows. And he can become like the shadows even around you, like encircling you entirely by with his dog shape, which is just wildly crazy to me to think about. You're walking down this and you see the head of the dog there, and all of a sudden it's over here, but as he's going here, you're still seeing his midsection and his tail ahead of you, right? It's just crazy the way that kind of visual.
I can't really wrap my head around that visual.
Right. But yeah, so it's like he can form in a shadow over here and then kind of like just almost like ink move into another shadow over here and be there. But he's often seen sort of in the middle of the road, snarling and growling. His hair is a mess. It's all kind of crazy and wild. And he's got big feet. Like a lot of times you'll hear the padding of his feet coming at you before you actually see the animal himself. or itself. But as I was saying, he doesn't really, he kind of shows up, he snarls, he scares the heck out of you, and then he sort of goes, he pads off into the darkness. And the only time that people actually have been harmed or have come to be injured is through their own foolishness. They'll, take after him on their horse, and there's a story of a man who took after him on his horse, and the horses, who are often smarter than their riders, are terrified by the snarly owl. So the horse bucked and threw the guy off, broke his collarbone, broke his neck, gone. There was another guy who was walking through the woods, another tale, and he fell into cardiac arrest, had a heart attack, which is like, hey, if you don't go into snarly yow territory if you have a weak heart.
Or the forest period, because terrifying.
And then there's other stories where people have thrown things at him, or they've shot at him and the bullet has ricocheted and hit a friend or hit them, or the rock has hit a friend instead of the dog.
Oh, you guys, what a bunch of skips.
So
probably don't throw rocks at things anyway. I mean, it's just a general rule.
Yeah, and mostly it's because they go right through him because he's the snarly owl. And they hit or ricochet off of something that's behind him. Causes problems. It's not a good thing.
Oh my gosh. So he's not like entirely sort of malevolent in his own right. It's just more of a angry warning.
Yeah. I think a fearful warning, sort of, be on guard, be prepared, know where you're at. Things can be in these woods, like me, the snarly yow, for instance. So be aware of your surroundings and pay attention. But I don't know. Go ahead.
No, you've also got in the book, you've also got things that perhaps maybe aren't evil at all and just maybe a little bit curious, but in that curiosity maybe cause a little bit of harm to humans. And in no way, shape, or form am I going to be able to pronounce this correctly, but
I can say it for
the
you.
dudes, thank you, please. The dudes hanging out in Yellowstone.
The Paknawats. And these things, I mean, they're very similar, I guess you could say, to the Fae in the UK, in that they don't really want to cause harm. They don't really want to help. They're just curious in sort of almost an innocent way, and they are trying to figure out what these sort of earth walking people are, because these things, they're like water babies, is another name for them that the indigenous folks will use. But
water babies.
They can live. Yeah, they live in springs. They can live in rivers, lakes. But these particular ones in Yellowstone live in the geysers, or in the hot sort of the extremely hot springs and things like that. So
acidic.
That water's, what's that?
Hot and acidic.
Yes. So yeah, they're not only hot, but they're also caustic. And so in their curiosity, so many people talk about how they sort of can sing a song. And they you can hear the song even while you're walking by, and it just kind of sort of draws you in. And so then as they're singing the song, you might see them in the water, and they often have, the way I drew it, or the way I created the art, they have sort of the colors of those hot springs, which is like sort of deep, deep blue in the center, and then they go to almost a rainbowish color on the outside because of the various minerals in there. But what can happen is, because you're so mesmerized by their beauty, and they're continuously looking at you and being like, hey, what are you? That you fall into the pool, and you are not only boiled, but you're dissolved by the caustic waters that are there.
People are so stupid. Listen, I know nothing except for one story, possibly read on Reddit, who knows, about water babies. And it was
all right, I'm just waiting. This is gonna be good. All right.
I shouldn't have said Reddit because that. Anyway, the story I read was told by a Native American who told the story of how they lost their sibling, and their parents told them it was to a water baby. And I don't know if it was an instance of drowning or if they were afraid but they heard singing. And I don't know why I'm telling you this, because you just told us a much more better story. And I said that really well too. So thank you. I'm going to leave.
That's the MO, their MO, right? So in some cases they actually even cry like a human baby.
Yeah. That was part of it
and it's
too.
not song, but it's the sound that draws you in. It's like, there's something over there that I need to save, someone I need to help. And then
that's how they get you.
Yeah.
Not just water babies, but
right. Well, yeah.
Everything.
Everything all the rules of Appalachia,
Cats.
right? If you know, if you hear someone say your name, no, you didn't, all that stuff.
Yes.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Someone whistling.
Well, and it's especially common trait within anything water-based, right? Any of the water, like fae, any of the mermaids, any of those guys, is that there's some sort of lure, usually singing or making sounds, that will ultimately lead you to your doom.
Yeah.
Hey, Jenny, what other thing do you want to hear about next that will lead us to our doom after the break? Jeez, I'm so good at this.
Listen, after the break, we're going to hear a little bit from the southwest area-ish.
The airline?
Yes, we're going to hear from the airline, but only as it relates to the cottonwood tree.
Yay.
Oh, hey, Tressa. Jeni? Oh, I'm just reading my book by international TV sensation, Dave Schrader. I'm reading the book, too. I don't remember the name of it or who wrote it, but yeah. There, I like your shirt. You? I got it on monstersloungepodcast.com. You've got a great shirt, too. Oh, that's so weird. I got it at monstersloungepodcast.com, too. They have really great stuff. A whole variety. I know, right? They have everything. Shirts. Tote bags. Clutches. A phone case, I think. It's the best.
You know, the best thing about that ad is that no one could ever make a better one. I dare anyone to show me and pay me money for a better ad to put up there, because I don't think it's possible.
I don't think so either. You know what? I would love to see that as well. I would love to see that happen.
I dare you guys. You can't. Show us.
Right.
Dare,
I did like that phone case though. That was cool.
Nice.
Had a Sasquatch on it.
Yeah. That's a Tressa original design.
Is it? Very nice.
Thank you.
I like a good Sasquatch.
Well, hey, who doesn't?
Who doesn't?
Right.
I mean,
in this panel.
Jerks.
Right.
That's who.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, anyway. Okay, please tell us about this this cryptid spirit lore, because it is super cool.
Yes, the now I can't say it. Malagra.
Welcome to our club.
Yes. So this is really cool because New Mexico is one of my favorite places, as is my home state of Wisconsin. And what's really neat is both states have cottonwoods. So every spring when I see the cottonwoods, sort of cotton collecting in people's yards and in corners of alleys, and also in like the normal gutter, I immediately think of La Milagro, which is basically an evil spirit that sees an opportunity in this gathering fluff. And it does gather because it's kind of it's a little bit sticky, and it's meant to be, because it's supposed to stick to either animals or other things and go to places where it will fall off and become another tree. So this stuff, you regularly see it even like doing little whirlwinds and kind of like swirling around the ground. And so this spirit will find a place where it's sort of all collecting and gathering, and it will sort of possess that clump or lump of cottonwood fluff.
What?
And then once it has, it can sort of move on its own within this sort of fluff, like blob of seeds and cottonwood.
Does it take a specific shape?
No, that is actually part of its plan, part of its ploy. So it's seeking out people who are doing either bad things late at night, who are, out later than they should be. Maybe they've drank too much. Maybe they're a kid and they're out past curfew. It's always the kids out past curfew that they got to watch out. But when you see it, you can't really tell what shape it is because it's amorphous. It's just kind of like, contracting at one point in time and reaching out at another point in time. And it's just like doing all of these different things, and it kind of freezes you. Again, similar to the Lockwood Screecher, you're frozen by its appearance in this case. And at that point in time, it has you. It sort of just blankets you in the cottonwood fluff, and they find you the next day, asphyxiated, suffocated by the cottonwood cotton, and you are no more.
What a way to go!
I know, right? Just sort of blanketed in cottonwood cotton.
He breathed. Now he's dead.
Yes. So,
yeah, man, don't listen. If I die that way, make something up. That sucks.
It does, but it is so fascinating, just like to find things like humans find that, right? So here's this thing that infuriates you, this cottonwood fluff that's sticking to your car, it's sticking to your screens, it's sticking to everything around you, and you can almost imagine how you think this is the worst, this is the most evil stuff I cannot possibly think about, and then it actually is, because it's out hunting you at night.
It's the big old ball of fluff just coming at you.
Yep.
I think that's my favorite.
Wild.
It's so innocuous.
Yeah.
And so deadly.
It's so pretty. I mean, it looks like snow in July, which is just amazing.
Yeah, and just coming at you. Coming at you. Now, also, you have these amazing little bits in the book about like old warnings or old, how to either avoid something or get rid of it once it's attached to you. And one of them is how to get rid of a haint, right?
Yeah.
And first tell me what exactly that is, because it sounds like a ghost, which means I don't know anything about it.
It is. It's the spirit of somebody who, it's the spirit of somebody who, I guess you could say was miserable in life. So they're sort of miserable in death. And they don't haunt a specific place. Like, I grew up in a house that had ghosts, and the ghosts belonged to the house, or the house belonged to the ghosts. So they stayed there. A haint sort of looks for other people that it sees itself in. And so it might look for someone who it can influence in a way to eventually make it join them in death in their sort of miserable state.
It just collects miserable people. That seems...
Yeah, it's very just dark haints. But so obviously people are constantly, and this is in the South mostly. Appalachia has them. The Ozarks have haints. It's from the Gula people who were the emancipated slaves, and basically all the different tribes or all the different groups from Africa who settled sort of in the South Carolina islands there on the coast. And that's where the haints originate from. But their theory was you could do several things to keep them away, right? Which only makes sense that you would want to do that, because who wants something like that tagging along and causing issues in your life? So one of the things is to paint the ceiling of your porch a particular color of like almost seafoam blue. And Sherman Williams actually has a blue called Haint Blue.
Oh, I
you
love
can buy.
that.
Yep, that you can buy to paint the roof of your porch, because the idea or the theory there is that as the haint tries to cross the threshold, it will look up and think that that's the sky and go, kind of blow away or go up through the roof of the porch and be gone,
Oh,
which is kind of
wow.
pretty clever. You can also do what's called a bottle tree, which is you take usually blue. Again, blue attracts haints. And so you do this tree where you put the bottles on the branches, usually make them out of metal. You put the bottles on the branches upside down, and the haint will go up into the bottle and not be able to figure out how to get out. And then they burn up in the sunshine of the next day.
Oh, so they're
Which is kind of
idiots.
fun. Yeah. Yeah, kind of a little bit. Another one is they have a hard time counting. So you can put a broom outside of your door, or you can throw rice on your doorstep, and they have to count the rice. And the minute they're done counting all the different pieces of rice, they're like, "Wait, did I get that right? Let's do it again." And so it distracts
Oh, and they
them.
have ADHD. This
Okay.
is perfect.
Yes.
So this is also how you get rid of Tressa.
Ah,
By the
nice.
way.
This is true.
Yes.
These are not lies.
Or an upside down broom, because they'll count the straws in the
Okay.
over and over. And
I
over
won't
again.
even see the broom. I do not see brooms, so it's fine.
Yeah, me either. But my favorite one is you can plaster your walls in the like your foyer or your hall, the entry hall, with newspapers, and they'll be compelled to read the newspapers,
Oh, not
read
Tressa.
all of the stuff,
No, pass.
cover all of it until they can move on.
What is this headline? I don't find that interesting. Goodbye.
Right, exactly. I don't want to
Ooh.
read any newspapers today anyway. But yeah,
Well, you could just have headlines just repeating.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Maybe a
Maybe the
paragraph.
National Enquirer, maybe like a tabloid, not an actual newspaper.
Oh, he knows me too
Kind of the
well.
Uh-oh.
I
More
don't fool.
annoying.
All right.
I am
got
too
it.
transparent.
I'm
Yeah.
taking that down as a note. Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
But yeah, and then there's always the cleaning the house. There's always that, they always say, "Oh, a clean house keeps spirits away," but I don't know.
Does
knock
it
on wood,
though?
Yeah,
Ugh, sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah.
it is. Yep. It would make
no,
it would make me more attractive to haints because I'd be miserable.
Exactly. Listen, you're thinking like a smart man. Hey, I think we have time for one more story just because I wanna. Let's do it.
Yeah, why not? Do you have any that really stuck out to you that were just an absolute delight? I mean, I'm sure all of them were enjoyable, but is there one that is up there with your favorites?
So there are a few in there that I wrote from sort of the creature's point of view. There's the Solcavant, I believe is how you pronounce that. It's the Dominican Republican sort of vampire type creature. And they're sort of like a boo hag in that they have to take their skin off. So they remove their skin, and then they become sort of like a flame, like a green flame or a green light. And then that allows them to creep into people's houses and go through crevices. And then once in, they return back to their skinless form, and they suck a little bit of blood, and then they go back to the flame and they go home. Right. And so the way I wrote the story for that one, because I do love, telling a good story, is sort of from the boo hag's point of view, in that, she's the sun's going down, and like during the day they look perfectly normal. They look just like any other human. They walk around and they're just like your neighbor. And so the story is like her closing the shades, the sun's going down, and she's thinking, who is it tonight? Who's ticked me off today? Basically, who's the one that has infuriated me today? Where am I going to go? And then it's
This
like,
also sounds like me.
Yeah.
yeah. And so then I described the whole like taking her fingernail down, and peeling off the skin, putting it in the mortar, putting it up on the thing, and then, going out to find her victim.
I like that one because it's very similar to the stories of some of the stories of the vampire, right?
Yes.
Like
Yep.
turning into something like a mist or a flame, you
Yeah.
know, that can creep in, and then obviously the blood would be the same thing.
Yeah, and then too, in a lot of the stories that you read about these things when they find them or they capture them, which is probably horrific in real life because they were obviously probably not
Yeah.
blood-sucking vampires, but just, you know, people on the edges of society. But the stories always say that they resist, at least these creatures, taking the entire life of the person because they don't want to be found out. They don't want someone to be like, oh, well, so-and-so had an argument with that person yesterday and now they've been consumed. They've had their entire, you know,
But wouldn't the
lifeblood
person
sucked out.
partially consumed report back, hey, this guy just drank a bunch of my blood?
Well, they sort of like, they are hypnotized or they're under the influence
Oh,
of
right, the
of
hypnosis.
Yes, exactly. So they have no idea what happened. They're just like, wow, I feel a little bit anemic today. Feeling a little lightheaded.
I need a burger.
Mhm.
I get
Yes.
it. Who doesn't
Yeah.
get like that at some point?
Right.
Listen, Mike, this has been so fun, such a pleasure. Please give everyone your links and all of your information so they can find you and learn more.
All right. So on my Instagram page, which is kind of my preferred form of communication these days, it's Wisco Mythos. And you can find a link to the book there. It'll take you to the Penguin Random House page where you can go to many different bookstores and find it. Or you can ask your local bookstore or even go online and ask your local bookstore if they have it. There's
Jen,
also
you
a link
have it?
there to the Zip Dang page, so zip-dang.com, where you can buy prints of all sorts of folklore and cryptids, hauntings, and settlers' tales with a few native stories. And then I also have a website called inkandstory.com where I do updates and do a little bit of a blog post and talk about things more at length.
Fantastic.
And have I mentioned that the binding is great?
Oh, yes.
The binding
good.
is fantastic. I
Cool.
want to make sure that everybody knows
Yes.
this binding is Jeni approved.
So my publisher, Watkins, they're in London, did an amazing job at putting the book together, and the design of it is amazing as well.
Jeni agrees.
I like a good binding.
Yeah,
loves
yeah,
book
they are. It's
binding.
good. It's
Pages.
nice. Yep.
Mhm.
Feels good in your hands.
It does. It's like a weighty book. The pages are nice. It smells like a library. It's
Yes.
good.
Yeah, I love that it's got a good ink
Mhm.
scent to it because of all the colors in there, all
Right.
the artwork.
Tressa, a library is where they keep a lot of books.
Like a bookstore?
Yeah, but you go and you check them out and then you
Yeah.
return them.
Return? That
Okay.
sounds like
We'll
a lot
talk
of work.
later. We'll talk after this.
It's a lot of work. You got to walk there, drive there.
Yeah, I was already there.
Sometimes they make you have a card.
Mhm.
That sounds...
We'll talk about it later. We'll be fine.
Privacy
We'll
issues.
get you there.
Mike, thank you so much. It was, again, such a pleasure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I had a great time. I hope
Wonderful
you did
time.
You too, as well. This was fun. It was a blast.
Yay, everybody else! And don't forget to find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and the Paranormal 60 Network. Like, comment, subscribe, and check out our merch on our website, monstersloungepodcast.com. Send us an email or a comment. We love hearing from people. So until next time, shut your mouth. Thanks for visiting the Monsters Lounge.